I don't stand side by side with nobody till I bleed with them first.
What did we just see? You probably think this world is a dream come true.
When I step into this ring, yeah, bro, I am addicted.
Don't sleep on Luca!
Maybe tomorrow we'll all wear 42.
If you fight for your dreams will fight for you.
If you don't know, I am currently a college student. More specifically, I'm an English major. So as you might imagine, this means I have to spend a lot of my time reading a lot of literature and subsequently having to write on it for my classes. I bring all of this up because, as you see through this channel, my main interests and best works come from writing about the things I love. And more often than not, school does not provide an outlet for me to take such interests and apply them to whatever criteria the assignment calls for. However, at this moment, I have a professor who actually encourages us to use our interests. In his eyes, he just wants to see that we understand and can apply what we are learning. So with that being said, our recent assignment was on drama. As I sat there looking over the various plays we have read, I thought to myself, why not take a risk? Rather than write on a play that I have no interest in at all, why don't I take the risk and apply something that I do love? I enjoyed what I wrote so much, I decided to bring it here to this channel and turn it into a video. So, without further ado, when it comes to drama, one of the most debated questions is whether performance is essential to its function. Can drama still be effective when only read? While it is not a conventional form of drama, I believe wrestling is the best example of why performance is necessary for drama. This is because the performance allows for expression and connection that words cannot simply convey. For starters, one of the reasons drama needs performance is the visuals. One match that encompasses this for me is the match that took place on October 29th, 2020 between Walter and Ilya Dragunov. At the time of this match, Walter is in the middle of what would be a record reign with NXT UK's World Championship. As mentioned, drama excels at providing visuals, and this match is a prime example. For starters, our two actors. Ilya Dragunov is a Russian man who stands at 5 feet, 9 inches, and weighs about 198 pounds. A formidable opponent to all, except the man across the ring from him. Walter is an Austrian man who stands at 6 feet, 4 inches, and weighs close to 320 pounds. The visual of Walter being as tall and as big as he is sells how much of an uphill battle Dragunov has to face. However, before describing the match, another important visual is the setting. This match took place during the COVID-19 pandemic, meaning no fans were in attendance. Usually, fans play a huge part in the performance of wrestling. They are there to react, and the reactions let the performers know what is connecting and what isn't. This is why many fans do not look back fondly at this era of wrestling, as it leaves for awkward moments of silence. However, one thing that was enhanced through no fans was the wrestling itself. Wrestling is often described as a fake sport with simulated fighting. The performance between Walter and Dragunov was one that silenced such critics. Due to the lack of crowd, you were able to hear the impact of every move, and it shows how much damage is truly being inflicted. When Walter chops Dragunov across the chest repeatedly, you hear each shot echo throughout the empty arena. When the two men exchange forearm strikes, you hear the thuds of their arms and heads. What makes the display of dominance from Walter even more effective is his opponent. Dragunov is a fair-skinned man, so each one of Walter's attacks leaves a mark. Each slap, each strike, each kick leaves an outline on his skin. The performance goes 25 minutes, and by the end of it, Dragunov is left red all over. This is accentuated by the finish of the match, which sees Walter choke out Dragunov. As Dragunov is choked out, his face completely turns red, and his mouth and nose begin to bleed from the sheer pressure of Walter's submission hold. In this story, the performance was essential in showcasing the violence of wrestling, the dominance of Walter, and the indomitable spirit of Dragunov as he endures the pain for 25 minutes until his body cannot. Just like literature, there are other aspects to wrestling. One major aspect of wrestling is the promo. A promo in wrestling is essentially the performer talking, with the recipient ranging from himself, his opponent, or the audience. The point of the promo is to advance the story, whether that be with their own character or the feud they find themselves in. Now, seeing as the promo is mainly dialogue, many would write this section of the performance off and claim that words can fill in seamlessly. What is not taken into account, however, is the emotion and character behind such words. Any wrestler can go out and cut a promo, but that does not mean it is going to connect with the crowd. Wrestling is all about convincing the audience that what they are seeing is real, and so when you speak to that audience, they have to believe what you are saying. If not, many are written off as lacking charisma and the ability to connect with an audience. The best wrestlers are the ones that form genuine connections with their audience. To me, there is no better example than when Katsuyori Shibata returned from injury. Now in this instance, this was a situation where reality bled into performance. During an intense match between Kazuchika Okada and Katsuyori Shibata, Shibata would go for a headbutt. This is often regarded as the headbutt heard around the world, as the thud echoed through the packed arena in Japan. Soon after, blood slowly began to seep down Shibata's forehead. After the match concluded, it was reported that Shibata collapsed backstage, and when taken to the hospital, he was diagnosed with a subdural hematoma. He was rushed for emergency surgery, and his career seemingly looked to be over. About a month later, fans were in attendance for another one of New Japan Pro Wrestling's shows. However, the crowd in attendance were not prepared for what was about to occur. As they sat there awaiting the next match, a familiar tune rang throughout the arena. The audience slowly but surely realized it is the entrance theme of none other than Katsuyori Shibata. You were able to hear an audible gasp from the audience, all as the many fans look towards the entrance ramp, truly questioning if their hero is going to return. Many members of the audience are seen crying, and they all begin to chant his name. The crowd erupts as Shibata makes his way down to the ring with tears in his eyes. He enters the ring and grabs a microphone to talk. Very emotional, Shibata simply utters two words: "I'm alive." It is two very simple words, but it is the circumstances and the character that makes them meaningful. It is Katsuyori Shibata saying those words that should symbolize happiness, with tears in his eyes, because he is a man who knows his career is likely over. Finally, the important part about wrestling and drama as a whole is the ability to perform such feats live. When it comes to drama, actors have to be able to perform, speak, and portray their characters and stories in the moment. There is no editing like in movies, and more specifically, they are limited on what they can do. Written stories have a blank slate, where the story can be anywhere, characters can look any way, and elements can be changed to fit the story being told. Drama and wrestling, however, are limited to the capabilities of the human body in reality. However, in a way, that aids the performance. The limitation allows for performers and storytellers to get creative with how they display the story. To me, one of the best recent examples that displays this is AEW's story between Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. During this time in 2022, AEW found themselves without a world champion due to circumstances out of their control. Jon Moxley would go on to win the title and do his best to carry the company through this dark time. Similarly, Adam Page was a character who had just recently gone through a 3-year storyline that saw his descent and rise to world champion before descending once again. His character was lost at this point, where he was still a main character in AEW but did not have any sort of story going for him. To help his character out, AEW books Jon Moxley to defend his title against Page in a first-time ever match. Anticipation builds and the match finally occurs, only for Page to get legitimately injured during the match. In movies and other forms of literature, this wouldn't happen unless intentional. Drama has to work with whatever happens. From here, Jon Moxley's character has to carry on as champion, and once again Page is left with no direction. However, in this instance, AEW finds a way to incorporate this injury into a storyline. When Page makes his return a couple months later, he immediately goes after Moxley for injuring him. For weeks, anytime the two interact, it is always a brawl. Finally, in storyline, AEW puts an end to these brawls by making a match for the start of the new year. But Page is not allowed to touch Moxley at all until then. The reason given is because Page is not fully cleared for competition, and each brawl is only pushing his clear date back. This break allows for interviewers to speak to Page alone and finally get an answer out of him. Why is he targeting Jon Moxley if the injury was unintentional? Page tells the story of what happened the night he got injured. He says when he finally regained consciousness, the doctors began to ask questions and he knew the answers. He knew the day, the date, the city they were in. Finally, the doctors offered him his phone, as many people had been calling and texting him that night. When he opened his phone, he had a picture of his son as his wallpaper. The doctor asked Page, "Is that your son? What's his name?" All Adam Page could do was stare. He couldn't remember the name of his own son. For a whole hour, he did not know his son's name. Page closes his promo with the simple words, "I've been to hell. That's hell. And if Jon Moxley wants to fight me this Friday, I'll find him. I know where the ring is. But if he's going to tempt me to go back to hell, I'm going to take him with me." The whole promo and closing lines are effective as is, but again, it is Page's performance that makes the words actually mean something. It is his cold demeanor throughout the promo. It is the fact he begins to choke up when he repeats, "What's his name?" It is his cadence and delivery when he says he has been to hell. All of it is what makes the audience believe what Page is saying and now understands why he is angry with Jon Moxley. A man who, when he first returned, did not bother to ask about his health but instead insulted him about it. From there, the two had a match that Page was victorious in but was not satisfied. They had another match and this time Moxley won. By this point, the animosity between the two men is at a breaking point. Page does not make matters better, as when interviewed by Jon Moxley's wife, who works as a reporter for AEW, he tells her he's going to concuss her husband. This leads to AEW booking a huge blow-off match at their next pay-per-view. Match stipulations are a form of enhancing the match. They can add a level of intensity to a match. Once again, drama is limited, but that allows for them to get creative with their performance. For this match, Adam Page and Jon Moxley are fighting in a Texas death match. The only way to win is knockout or submission. The stipulation is used here to sell the level of violence and animosity between the two men. The performance that follows is one that can only be done in wrestling. Jon Moxley and Adam Page inflict levels of violence upon each other that makes the audience uneasy and question the reality of what they are watching. Both men use a fork and stab it into each other's foreheads. Page and Moxley take turns wrapping their hands in barbed wire and repeatedly punching each other. Moxley shows disregard for Page's health by sending him headfirst into a steel chair wrapped with barbed wire. We even see a piece of Page's hair get stuck to the chair. Each man has their own signature moves, but they display the level of hatred they have by finding a way to incorporate different weapons in order to inflict more damage. This is seen when Moxley sticks Page's hand between two cinder blocks and stomps on them. However, it is the finish of this match that shows why performance is so important to drama. As Page hits his signature move, He looks at Moxley. He could easily leave him there for the 10 count and win by knockout. That is not a satisfying ending for him, however. He wraps the long steel chain around Moxley's throat and throws him over the ropes. Holding on to the other end, he proceeds to hang Jon Moxley. Moxley tries his best to fight on, as he is a man who prides himself on resilience and toughness. Eventually, though, thinking about his own family, he submits before any more serious damage is inflicted. As both men walk away, there is no look of victory or defeat. Instead, both men wear faces of remorse, almost shocked at the violence that was inflicted by their hands. Overall, performance is a necessity for drama. The performance, despite its limitations, allows for the words to gain meaning through appearance. Characters are given life, and their appearance can add to the effectiveness of a story. Dialogue is enhanced by the way a character chooses to act during one scene compared to another. Performance is necessary for drama as it allows for unique portrayals of characters, dialogue, and stories that would otherwise go unseen. Simply because there are certain aspects, such as delivery, appearance, and emotion, that can only be seen through the individual's performance.